to you by the beautiful game. And Josh, guys, it's been months, maybe plural, since we've done a show together.
How's your thumb?
Yeah. What's how's my thumb?
Yeah.
It's still there, kind of.
Okay.
It's bandaged right now. It's healing. Some days it's better. We've been taking pictures, and now I'm like a sicko, and I have like side by sides, and I'm like, is it getting better? Is it not getting better? So I don't know. We'll see.
Can you release these to the public?
No, please don't.
You don't want to see the pictures. Trust me. Trust me. There are people that are like, I really want to see it. I'm like, no, you don't. And then I show it to them, and they're like, why did you show that to me? I'm like, you asked me to. I tried to warn you, people. Jeez. Josh, you've been traveling all over the place. Where all have you been? How have the travels been?
Could have gone better. So first I went to Philly, and that was for PAX Unplugged, the board game convention. That was fantastic. Had a great time. Always do. This is like the 6th or 7th year doing it, and it's always a blast. So that was fun. And then right when I got back, I had 4 days, and then I went to India for a business trip. That trip, on the other hand, did not go smoothly. Got COVID as soon as I landed, and had a quarantine in my hotel for 5 days, which was the amount of my trip. So pretty much.
So you went all the way to India and just stayed in the hotel?
Yeah, it was a 5-star hotel. So don't get me wrong, the hotel was nice, and room service came in clutch when you can't leave the room.
So you did a deep dive on Indian hotels. That's
yes, exactly. Yeah, local channels. Yeah, everything. What's up there? I was able to after 3 days, I had no more symptoms and I felt fine. So masked up and went to the market and just kind of walked around the market outside. So at least I got some exploring done. Got no work done for this business trip whatsoever. So that's fun.
What city was it?
Went to Hyderabad.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I've never been to India, never been to Hyderabad. It was really cool. Stayed in a area called High Tech City. So it was just like, all right, cool. Apparently, literally, they just made it for businesses. So that whole area.
Was the food good?
Oh yeah, fantastic. Biryani. That's what they're known for in Hyderabad. The lamb biryani. So I had that twice. That was really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then came home, and now, 4 days, and then go to Ohio for Christmas. So
nice.
Go.
Just making the rounds. I guess I haven't had a chance to congratulate you with the crew winning the MLS Cup.
Yes.
So how's that feel, having a championship team that you follow?
That was cool. It was a little bit crap that I couldn't watch the game because, again, in India when that game happened, and I looked at the time difference, and I'm like, okay, I could stay up until 4:00 in the morning to watch this game.
While sick with COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, while sick with COVID. Or I could just wake up in the morning and be like, did we win? And that's what I did.
Yeah.
So, did not get a chance to watch the game, unfortunately. But sweet. It was really cool that they won.
Mike, you're flying high with your team.
Villa? Yeah.
You just informed me before we were recording you're first. That's cool.
We're not first. We're second. But by Friday we could be first. So no, but they did have a big week. They beat, week and a half. They beat City and Arsenal in the span of 4 days, and then beat Brentford in a really crap game this past weekend. So we'll see.
Nice.
Who knows? Yeah, it's fun to watch. Kev, what's new with you?
Nothing. Let's move on.
Speaking of traveling, you'll be here. When do you get into Pittsburgh?
Well, we're kind of playing it by ear. I still need to talk to mom. Mom got COVID, so now we're just like, how do we balance all this? We'll be in Pittsburgh.
Just come stay at my place. It'll be great.
Well, we're weighing options, playing it day by day, Mike.
It'll be like a sleepover. We'll just put all the cushions on the floor, and everybody sleeps in one room, and it'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll see.
He said he's going to Pittsburgh, not the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
this is true. This is very, very true.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's exciting that we're talking. I think typically in the off season, the information that we have in the shows tends to be sparse. Not so the case today. And actually, we have so much I'm able to bring back out my click wheel.
Oh boy. We're going to talk about all these subjects, but we will do them in a random order through the click wheel.
Yes, we will.
The fans didn't let this go away. The fans brought it back. They willed it into existence.
That's right. I think, have we only used this once before?
I think so.
I'm just obsessed with the clicky sound. It's like, it's very Wheel of Fortune.
It is.
Like how you fall asleep.
You hear that? Yes.
You know, I just freak Susan out by just like spinning this.
Yes. I wait till she falls right asleep and then I put it right in her ear. Yeah, there we go. All right, guys. So we got a lot of topics. I'm going to read through the different topics on here.
Okay.
We will probably spend more time on some than others, but that's okay. We have the Steel Army holiday party. I want to hear how that went. Josh, were you there for that?
No, I wasn't.
So that might be a really quick one.
Yeah, I was traveling to India during the holiday party.
Okay, so that one might not work out. Players. We got players that have signed. We got players that have departed officially. We have players that are still up in the air.
Okay.
We have the Open Cup, which is a very hot topic over the past few days. We have the fact that CBS and Paramount Plus are going to be covering games now instead of ESPN, which we can discuss. The 2024 schedule was released today, and that's it. Those are our 6 topics. Wait, is that 6? That's it. That's 5. 5 topics. We have 5 topics. We're going to do 5. Okie dokie. Here we go.
Spin the wheel, Mike.
It's going to be the holiday party. Watch. Nope. CBS Plus and CBS and Paramount Plus. Okay. So the news came. We kind of got the sense mid-season-ish when the Hounds started getting covered by CBS Plus that maybe something was going to happen. But now the league has officially broke a deal with CBS and Paramount Plus to be streaming the Hounds games this season. And there will be opportunities for some of the games to be played on CBS proper. So in the past, it was ESPN Plus essentially, and every so often it would be on ESPN2. In this case, there's now a chance for the USL to be on CBS proper. Josh, your initial thoughts on the switch to CBS and Paramount Plus?
Kind of confused because my understanding is I think they have something like 100 games, not 100 games. I forget what the number was. It was not all the games.
Right.
So therefore, some of the games are still going to be on ESPN Plus, I believe. Some of the games will be on Paramount Plus. Some of the games will be on national television proper. I don't really understand the deal yet. I don't think it changes anything for me because I have I have Paramount Plus and ESPN Plus.
So going to India, having all these subscription things, just rolling in it. Josh.
Maybe I should clarify. I have access to Paramount Plus and ESPN Plus, and so I think I'm fine, and I'll be able to watch all the games that I'm not at. So hopefully it should be okay.
Just as long as it's not one of those scenarios like the Premier League where it's like some of the games are on Peacock and some of them are on NBC or USA, which you need a completely separate like live TV license to watch.
Anything's better than what's going on with MLS. I'm so angry at MLS for like their double paywall. Like with their Apple Plus deal, it was like, oh, I have Apple TV. I should be able to watch these games. No, you have to have a second subscription for MLS games on Apple TV, which is even more money. I'm like, I'm not paying for that when I'm, mostly watching Hounds games live and then can't watch Crew games at the exact same time. So like, yeah, that annoyed the crap out of me. So this is still better than that.
It's interesting because the Premier League just signed a new deal on the British side of things to move away from, I think they had Amazon Prime, to back to Sky Sports and doing more stuff with like actual broadcast. And so you have MLS in one direction that's like 100% digital. And now you're seeing even USL move slightly more traditional towards CBS. I mean, Paramount Plus that's streaming, and CBS Plus, that's on TV. Like there are people, I know people locally that have caught games because it was on CBS Plus after something else was on and they just sort of left it on. So I think that this is probably a net win for the Hounds. Kev, do you have any say in any of this?
Just questions. So you said they brokered a deal with the Hounds. So they didn't broker a deal with the USL.
No. It's USL. It's USL wide.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
But we still don't know how it gets split across the different streaming platforms. So like I didn't even know CBS Plus is a thing. I know Paramount Plus is a thing, but
CBS Plus is a channel. Like it's
Which
a
is-
channel
yeah,
that's on like local.
yeah.
So there's CBS, and then instead of like whatever the affiliate like, I forget what it was even called before. It wasn't the CW. Was it the CW?
Was that?
They changed it to CBS Plus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you stream CBS Plus?
I don't
know.
think so.
Probably.
I would assume if it's on CBS Plus, it might be on Paramount. But
listen, I don't understand how terrestrial TV works anymore.
Yeah.
I don't understand any of it. But the fact that they called it CBS Plus really annoyed me, because like that's moniker that everyone knows as digital now. Like everything is something plus, and that means digital. And then they're like, hey, we changed the name of our regular channel to CBS Plus. I'm like, that's confusing. I don't like that.
Yeah. That's weird. I don't know. I guess I know before the Hounds were tying me to I was getting ESPN Plus through a Hulu subscription or something. And now I guess that changes.
Yep.
And so now I can direct my money water gun towards Paramount Plus rather than Hulu. So, okay, fine. Whatever. Anything good on Paramount Plus? I don't know. I need
Star Trek. All the Star Trek.
Sweet. All right.
Yeah.
There we go.
I will say I will use Paramount Plus to watch the Europa Conference League. I think they also have Europa League. I think they have Champions League too.
Cool.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and they do a decent job of organizing the games and making them easy to find. It's like any other streaming service. So it will be interesting to see how things play out this year.
Do we know how much it is?
In terms of the cost of Paramount Plus, or how much the deal is worth?
Both, but I guess in particular, Josh, you said like the double paywall thing. Is this a double paywall thing for Paramount Plus, do we think?
No,
or is it
is
just
not.
Okay, that's good.
This is just part of Paramount Plus. And like I said, it's not all the games either. So like, I don't know. I don't even know if it would be worth getting Paramount Plus just for USL, as far as like the number of Hounds games that are going to be on there. I'm curious to see when that schedule comes out.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. They released the season schedule today, which is one of the things on our wheel, but we don't know the broadcast schedule yet. So
I saw the Hounds put out a YouTube video, right?
They did, and it was really good.
Yeah.
Starting the season early with some quality content. Yeah, we reshared that. So, any other thoughts on CBS versus Paramount Plus?
Confusing, and can't wait to find a flow chart telling me where to watch games when.
I'm waiting for the great aggregator where like just Apple buys all the streaming services, and I just need to look at one thing.
Monopoly.
I hope that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly.
That doesn't happen.
Inevitable.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm realizing how dusty this spin wheel is because we haven't used it in so long. Here we go.
Gonna land on the same thing again.
Holiday party. Liz said it was great.
Yeah, I heard great things about it. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Okay, Josh, anything else that you want to say about the holiday party?
No,
okay.
We can go on to the next.
When did you guys do elections for positions?
No, so that happens at the AGM, which will happen during preseason.
Okay. I knew this. Yeah. I was just asking for everybody else.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, good. I'm glad everyone had a good time. Next up is the hot topic of the Open Cup.
Oh, you didn't spin it. You just moved it. That's not
No. I spun it while I
okay.
said Liz said it was great, and then I spun it again. So don't worry. Open Cup. Okay, so to set the table, the reason why we're talking about the Open Cup in December is because midday on Friday, the MLS came out and basically said, hey, we're not going to let our first teams participate in the Open Cup. Instead, we will have our teams from MLS Next Pro compete. And I believe it's DC United that doesn't have an MLS Next Pro team, and therefore they just won't participate in the Open Cup. They did it on a Friday afternoon. They did not tell the U.S. Soccer Federation that they were going to be doing this. They didn't really tell anybody that they were going to do this. They just dropped it and kind of hoped that it would go away. The Steel Army has clearly done their part in saying this will not go away. This is a travesty. So, Josh, thoughts on what MLS is doing and just your feelings on this?
This is lame. This is really, really lame of MLS. And I feel like it is probably one of the things that is going to prove to everyone that the United States Soccer Federation has no pull whatsoever. I got a feeling there's not going to be any repercussions to this. Like, in the perfect world, you would see the Federation be able to be like, no, if you don't participate in our, giant cup, you don't get, whatever, like, you don't get an opportunity to get into the other leagues. You could lose D1 status, like plenty of things that they could do with this. But I got a feeling they're just gonna be like, oh, okay, we'll change the rules so you don't have to.
Yeah.
Which is extremely lame.
So for context, the Open Cup has been around for over 100 years.
Yes.
And MLS has been 20 to 30 years. And so this would be the equivalent of what, the FA Cup, if the Premier League was just like, nah, we ain't gonna participate in that. So
we're doing the Super League instead.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna do something else instead. Kev, what are your thoughts on this?
No, I agree. I mean, I was gonna say but I could say probably the best memories I have of last season was in the Open Cup, or the memories made in the Open Cup. And I always love how soccer, I don't know, growing up, watched hockey, watched the NHL, watched the NFL. Soccer is so unique in that, where it's like, no, we, a Columbus Crew can go play someone in the middle of Nebraska in a D2, whatever, I love that. And I think it creates so many interesting drama themes and things like that. So on that sense, I think it's sad that it's going away, because it's stripping the opportunity for memorable moments, especially for fans of soccer not in the MLS. However, I always do kind of like, this is more of a philosophical point. Follow me here. If you're like, if you're in like a friendship with someone and they don't want to be your friend anymore, then I'm like, well, fine, I don't want to be your friend anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I only want to be with someone who wants to be with me, kind of thing. And you can make an argument over, it's like, look, I don't want to drag you, MLS, kicking and screaming into something that you don't want to do. And like, there was always kind of a sour taste with it anyway. So on that level, I'm like, from a philosophical point, I'm like, look, if you don't want to be here, leave. Right. But that's wrapped up in the context of me saying I love when the Hounds get a chance to play someone from the MLS, especially at Highmark. That's great. Love it. Wouldn't want it to go away. So I don't know how you make those two coexist, other than maybe provide more incentives for all parties involved to take it seriously. Because that's the underlying argument for this, is the MLS is saying, look, this doesn't matter to us. We don't care about the competition. We only see this as a net negative where players could potentially get hurt. So I don't know. Is there something that, a governing body could do to change those incentives to all of a sudden, I don't know, do something different? I don't know. But that's my quick feeling on it. Not so quick.
I mean, one of the other arguments that I've seen sort of written about over the past few days is also the fact that there is a potential monetary incentive behind the scenes, because this wasn't an issue until Apple got involved and is like making money from all of the games that they're broadcasting. And now these MLS teams, including Messi, are, have the potential to go off and play other games that Apple doesn't get a cut for. And so they instead created their own new tournament between MLS and Liga MX from Mexico. And they're saying, well, we have no room in the schedule for the Open Cup because we have this other tournament that we just created. And it's like, that's hogwash. Like, just look over in Europe and look at all of the games those guys. You want to be taken seriously? Like, play the games. And I get your analogy of like, you don't want to be here. We don't want you here. Go away. But it also feels like they're not saying, well, we'll go away. They're saying we'll have our, D3 teams play instead.
Yeah,
And
I mean that's such a
essentially,
joke, though.
yeah,
I mean, like,
and essentially what they're trying to do is basically delegitimize any other league that isn't MLS. And they're just saying, well, this is beneath us. This your little Open Cup thing, that's great for all of you other teams, but like we're the big dog. And I think if MLS is going to take their cues from the US Soccer Federation, and if they're going to get benefits from the US Soccer Federation, then they need to participate as a member of the US Soccer Federation. And part of that is being in the Open Cup. So we'll see what actually happens here. Josh, if you had your crystal ball, do you think that, this US Soccer Federation will push back and MLS will have their first teams play? Or do you think it's just they're not, and we'll see what happens?
I guess the problem is I feel like the soccer federation is mostly controlled by MLS at this point. So I don't see them, and I don't think MLS would have made this decision without already kind of game planning it out with USSF. Like, I don't
although you
see
say that with like the Super League with all the big clubs, right? They've tried that like
exactly.
3 times and
Yeah.
they've walked away from it.
Which is very possible. It's very possible that they did not think this through, or that they, thought that USSF would roll over and they don't. But it's also like you got all this money wrapped up with MLS and the Apple deal and all that kind of stuff, and the fact that they didn't have any control over the Open Cup, and now they're like, oh yeah, we just pulled out of it, and we're gonna start this new, World Cup type competition with La Liga. Like, I don't know. It feels very much like they're just replacing those matches with this new tournament that they're going to do with Mexico, and like and be able to control that and have that on Apple TV as well. And that's the whole reason behind it all. I really hope we see USSF like come down on them somehow. And I just don't know. I have my doubts that that's going to happen just because of how much power MLS has in America for soccer.
Go ahead, Kev.
Well, I was just going to ask 2 points. One, have either of you heard any even light commentary from fan, like supporters groups of MLS teams in the wake of this news?
Broadly against it. Like it's very much it doesn't seem like any of the fans are happy about this decision. Some fans, there are a group of people who don't really care about the Open Cup. Like I kind of can see how, like, if you only support an MLS team and no other type of team, and like don't really care about the the health of soccer in America other than with your team and with MLS, that the Open Cup is probably just something you easily forget about. But overall, I feel like a lot of what I'm seeing from MLS fans is like, yeah, this is a dick move. Like, like this, it feels like it's a jerk move, and they should be, they shouldn't be doing this. So there are talks about fans like vowing to, like, supporters groups vowing to like go to the nearest Open Cup game and ignoring the other competition that they're making right now with Mexico. But we'll see if that comes to fruition, because it can be a lot of talk and not a lot of show. So we'll see.
Kev, did you have a second question to that?
My only point was I think it's going to be hard for us to, well, I don't know, maybe our like emotional feeling is the like objective feeling on this one. I think all of us would probably emotionally say like this is a bad move for the future of American soccer. But do you think it actually is gonna hurt? Like, I don't think I find it hard to find an argument how this somehow benefits the future of like growing soccer culture in America. Maybe I'm missing something, but the obvious to me is arguing for the downside. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on it?
I mean, I think that this just seems like a pond in the, or a pebble in the pond of like, okay, this might seem like a small thing, but the ripples that this could create and the additional pebbles that could end up getting thrown in because of the ripples this creates could send us on a trajectory that just isn't great for US soccer. We've talked about this before about, there's tons of support in America for European soccer, and trying to convince people to get into American soccer has been somewhat difficult because people have this perception of they want to view the best. And so we already are different from European soccer from the pro rel standpoint. So people understand there's pro rel. What? There's no wait. So MLS, you're just the worst team, and then you start out. Okay, all right, fine. And now you have another situation where this is a case where MLS could be playing lower seeded teams, just like the FA Cup, just like any other cup in countries in Europe, and MLS is pulling out of that. So the competition still exists, but MLS just isn't part of it. So like, what's that about? And it's not a good look. And I think it is a slippery slope to the point where, how long before MLS just commands dominance and everything else just goes away. And it's just like, I don't think that's going to happen. But if anything, I think that at the grassroots level, teams are trying to model themselves more on the European style than what MLS is currently doing. And that's to the benefit of all of the local communities in ways that MLS isn't necessarily doing. And so it'll just be interesting to see how this all sort of shakes out. I was talking to a buddy of mine who lives in Jacksonville, and he has a 6 or 7-year-old daughter that plays in the community system that is now feeding the new Jacksonville USL team and the USL or in the Jacksonville women's team. It is operated as a club, men, women's team, youth academy, all the way up through whole thing. And it's not, I know that MLS has an academy structure, but you also don't necessarily always see it being the feeder program that you're seeing it happen more often than not in the USL. So we'll see. I don't like the move by MLS. I think it's ridiculous. It does feel very Super League-ish to just be like, we're doing it, and then take it. So
Josh, did you have any?
So I will say that not finding any silver lining per se, but there was always this talk about how the Open Cup wasn't doing a great job of being visually, marketing wise, and the way that they were running it, a great product on TV, having giant empty stadiums for MLS teams playing a USL side or anything like that. It never looked good as a product, and I really wish they would have tried to do something the lower league team always hosts, if possible, so that way the stadium's full and it has a great atmosphere. If you watch the game the Hounds played against Columbus versus the previous year where we went to Columbus, night and day product, night and day visual. Watching that game on TV for the Riverhounds home game was insane looking. It looked like a party. And you watch that exact same matchup at the Columbus Crew home field, and it was meh. This is a midweek game, and it looks like it. So
and that maps to other sporting cultures too. I mean, I know that's I know that's the case in the England FA Cup games, where if Middlesbrough went to City, it's gonna feel flat. But if City went to Middlesbrough, right? It's different. Now Middlesbrough is the best example because their stadium is actually kind of big, but
it's just, and also they could have done better with packages for bumps before and after the game, talking to local fans of the lower league teams and what does this mean to them, and how the history of the clubs, the histories that there was so much there that they could mine. And I know it's a lot of it's money thing, that they just don't have the money to do this type of stuff, but being able to show these storylines for these historic competitions and these clubs outside of MLS franchises would have been a great way to promote this competition and maybe make it more visually appealing and marketable on television. And it just never happened. And I do think that, watching the Open Cup on TV can sometimes just feel flat and you don't really get the excitement. And yeah, it's a shame because now it could all crumble because without MLS in it, I don't know if the Open Cup really keeps on going.
Yeah. And to your point, Josh, I don't think the size of the team necessarily matters. It's the stories. And you see that everywhere. You see that with Wrexham. You see that with other documentaries where they pick a team, and as long as you know the stories, you feel a connection to the town, to the players, to whatever it may be. That's all you need is a story. And so it's just being more creative. But I agree with you. I think without MLS, it does lose a bit of its sheen. It might mean that a USL team wins it next year, but is that what they want? To be like, we won the Open Cup, but the MLS wasn't in it. Is that?
Yeah.
There's an asterisk next to it. You want to be the one that gets there. So, all right, we will see what happens, guys. I think we only have 2 out of the 5 left, so we'll see if I can nail it on one spin. Fingers crossed. Nope.
What's closer?
The 2024 schedule is closer.
Yeah, we should probably talk about that.
Okay, so let's talk about the schedule. So schedule was announced today. We know exactly what's happening with the Hounds. So just some key dates to throw out there. The opener is going to be March 9th in New Mexico. So it feels like every year we're moving the opener a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit earlier. Whereas it used to start later. Now it's March 9th. Our home opener is going to be March 16th versus Orange County. The longest away stretch for us is just 2 games. So we'll never have a case where we're away 3, 4, we go away for 2, we come back for at least 1. All 4 of our games in July are at Highmark. So it'll be another, quote unquote summer of Highmark, which will be cool. Although no July 4th game, unfortunately.
Womp womp.
Yeah. The season finale will be for us will be October 26th at home against El Paso. So our last game will be at home. And with the introduction of some new teams, they once again had to shuffle the conferences so that now Rhode Island FC and North Carolina are joining the East. North Carolina was with us, and then they dropped down to League One, I believe, and now they're back up to the championship. And Memphis heads off to the West. So, thoughts on the schedule, Josh?
Only 2 weekday games. One is away and one is home. The away game that is a weekday game is Detroit's, which makes sense for traveling for the Hounds, but kind of puts a damper on any away trip plans for Detroit since it is on a Wednesday. And then I think the other midweek game is Louis. I believe Louis is a midweek game.
Yep.
Which also kind of sucks because again, that's usually they travel, and so having it midweek probably means they won't travel as well, which means less bourbon for us at tailgate, which sucks. But oh well. So those are some of the quick things there. Every game's on a Saturday. There's not a single Friday game here. What else? Summer of Hounds last season was kind of grueling. This Summer of Hounds looks a lot more doable. Yes, it's 4 home games in a row, but it's not followed by another couple home games in a row and another couple home it was a lot last time. So having all of July be home is going to be a lot, but it's not going to be nearly as grueling as last year. So not too shabby there. Louisville away on a weekend. I think I'm going to go that. I think making a weekend of it, do the whiskey trail. It'll be a lot of fun.
Kev will meet you there. It's halfway, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kev, what are your thoughts on the schedule? Any thoughts?
I mean, I'm looking at it now. I mean, you mentioned, Mike, we don't have any 3-game away stretches, but there are some gnarly ones. I mean, before the July home stretch where we have 4 home games in a row, we have 2 away games, then a home midweek game against Louisville, and then 2 away games, which I don't know. I mean, I'm not happy about that. I would have preferred like friggin' Loudon at home midweek. I don't know. To me, I always circle on like the calendar, like, okay, when are we playing Louisville? And to have them just home midweek in the middle of an away stretch is not great. So I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I like the like 4 home games in a row. That's nice. I'm interested to see what Rhode Island will bring, but
they'll bring Mark Ibarra, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah. You know, I it's the schedule. Like it happens every year. I think there's a few things that everybody tries to like we get excited about. Like, is there a 4th of July game? And it's like, no. And then it's like, when does the season start? March 9th. Okay, great. And like otherwise, yeah.
I'm happy that our last game of the season is at home. If we need a result there, that's nice.
That is nice. Also happy that our first home game of the season is on a Saturday this year, which means All Hounds Eve is happening. Gonna actually happen this year. And we have a venue for it that is brand new. I don't know if you guys have heard about the new soccer pub in Pittsburgh called The Pitch.
No.
So Brian from Piper's Pub, he was renowned and very well liked there. He decided to start his own pub. So he bought a place in Lawrenceville and just had their soft open last weekend, and it went pretty well for Premier League matches. And yeah, the venues, we're not leaving Bulldogs, but we wanted to do All Hounds Eve, and we kind of need a place where we can mingle a little bit more. And if you've been to Bulldog Pub, it is more like a hallway. Great for watching soccer games, not so great for like, walking around talking to each other. So figured we'd give The Pitch some love. Brand new soccer bar in Pittsburgh. So we're going to have it there because they have a little bit more space to walk around and kind of just hang out. So
that's awesome. So All Hounds Eve will be what, March 15th?
March 15th. Yeah, the Friday. So the night before the first home game. Don't have too much planned yet. We just confirmed with The Pitch that we could have it there and blast it out on socials, and we'll work on the details later.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. Another soccer pub in the city. That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's great. So yeah, we have the schedule. Like we said, we're still waiting for the broadcast schedule, which will sort of inform some of the whole Paramount Plus, the ESPN thing. We will learn more. Yeah, so that's the schedule. Guys, that just leaves one last thing. And I'm just going to spin because I feel like spinning. We're just going to talk about it regardless. But
it's going to land on.
It almost landed on it as well. It was one away. Players. So all of this talk, all this time, we know what players are staying. We also have question marks on players. So to sort of set the table, this was announced weeks ago. So, if you're listening to the show, if you're watching the show, you probably have an idea of what I'm already about to talk about, and that's fine. But essentially, there were players that were already under contract heading into this offseason. Those players were Eddie Kizza, Kenny Forbes, Danny Griffin, Robbie Mertz. So they were coming back regardless. We got those 4 locked down. That's a pretty good, especially in the midfield, that's a pretty good midfield. They then announced the players whose options they decided to pick up. And ultimately, we have, I think, 11 returning players, which is the most that Lily has ever returned from the previous season. So the options you had, they're the players who their options picked up were Danny Rivera, who is returning for his 6th year, Langston Blackstock, Junior Etu, DZ Harmon, Mike DeShields, Pat Hogan, and Alal Asamanu. So
get in Etu.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, just add him, to the sort of stellar midfield that we have. Our midfield's looking pretty good. There are other players who are currently out of contract, and it sounds like are potentially negotiating deals. And those include Dikwa, Waite, Dos Santos, and Biasi. But no word on any of those. So we don't know what's going to happen there. Wasn't able to get anything out of the guys that we talked to over the past few weeks. But In addition to those players, we do know some players who have chosen to leave. We know that Mark Ibarra is off to Rhode Island. So we will see him twice this season at least.
With his bleached blonde hair.
That's right. We know that Joe Farrell is headed to Hartford. And we know that Arturo and Tola both headed to Louisville. So all of that said, Kev, what is your immediate impression, even though we've sort of known for a few weeks, what is your immediate impression on all of this player news?
Ordonez going to Louisville hurts me the most because, obviously a very important player for us, but to have an important player for us go to Louisville hurts. To have an important defender go to Louisville hurts because in my head, Louisville is, they're known for being tough defensively, and for them to look at our defense and say, "Yep, we'll have him," and that hurts. I don't know. I was always kind of anticipating something not happening for Dequa coming back here. I was more worried than anything.
It could still happen.
Oh, I know that, but like I guess I'm just like I'm telling myself bad news is coming, so that if it comes, that I'm like, well, I knew it. Which no way to live your life. Don't do that. But no, I mean, and then as far as I'm happy. I don't know. I think our midfield. I'm happy with the contracts that we picked up in the midfield. I don't know. I think midfield is hard to kind of pick up good players on. I think we've had a track record of finding good defenders. Forwards, it's a bit kind of more all over the place. I mean, looking back on, Dixon, Cicerone, Dequa, was I thinking Cicerone was going to be as good as he was when we pulled him in? Probably not, but maybe it's just because I wasn't paying attention. I don't know. I'm trying to convince myself that there are enough forwards out there that we can pick up, and that I'm happy with the midfield. But I don't know. That's just some initial reactions.
Josh?
Yeah. Obviously happy with the number of players already re-signed. It's great to see that many players coming back, but I do feel a little bit like my feeling of this is a successful offseason as far as keeping players is kind of hinging on Dequa a little bit. I do feel like I will be much more comfortable if we have Dequa back. And just in the fact that I know we can build around that core and that there's enough there to not feel like, well, it's another rebuilding year or starting from scratch, which is usually what it feels like every single season.
But I think Lily has trained me to feel like that's the norm. Like I remember the unease that we had at the beginning of last season.
So this is the thing, though. Like
I had full confidence in Lily. I thought we were going to be fantastic. This year.
You were not panicking at all. You were not in the gutter at all about this team. But here's the thing: we have talked about the goal is to win the championship, and we know Lily can make a team that is good and that can win the league regular season. But I still hold the reason why we don't get a championship is because we keep on having to kind of bring in a new squad. And when you bring in a new squad and a whole bunch of players who haven't been there before, haven't gone, through that pressure of the playoffs, they crack and they don't get the job done. So I have no doubt that no matter what happens, Lily can build a team that will run this league or at least make a great effort to run this league. I don't believe in the ability of that team to win the playoffs. So the more players we have back who have been there, who have that experience, and who can kind of not let the pressure get to them, the better. And I feel like what we need for that to happen is a team of veterans, or at least, veterans
championship winners.
just a team of players who know what to expect and like can work through that. I feel like that's why Louisville always gets there normally, is because they've historically had teams that were pretty well established.
Okay, so if I'm being super hard, look, obviously, Deke was amazing. I would want him back in an instant, and he would be starting, every game for me. From the outside looking in, you could say, well, if that's your goal, is to prioritize and optimize building a team for going far in the playoffs, you could say Dequa hasn't, like, not while he's at the Hounds, like. So
he also won the Golden Boot last year, so I don't know if that's entirely fair.
I
get what you're saying.
No, I hear what you're saying too. I do get that. Mine is less about saying that, well, the players didn't get there last time, so they can't get there this time. It's more about having the same players be there again. It's the fact that they experienced it last time and they can focus better this time. Having to restart this cycle every single year is why I feel like we haven't made the playoff or haven't made a deep run in the playoffs. I feel bad saying it, but Waite not being signed, I'm okay. Like it's the Lilly system. It always feels like the keeper's the easiest to replace, which is sad for the keepers because our keepers always go on to do great things. I do feel like it's just somehow Lilly's system always feels like the keepers have the biggest safety net because of the fact that the whole team is, defensively minded. And so therefore they kind of can get an easier start.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I'm listen, after how vocal I was last offseason, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut in terms of like
perfect for a podcast host. That's right, what we
exactly. Want. But no, I think what is interesting is that when I look at this team, I feel really good about one area of the field, which we can't always have said, but it's like, okay, good. We have a really substantial midfield. Like we have 4 guys that played the vast majority of the games last year and we know can do a job in midfield. So that's good. Like, okay, great. But then you have sort of the gaping hole up top of what's going to happen. And then you have the gaping center back hole behind them. And then you have the keeper situation. So when you're building a team, I tend to like think about that core right up the middle. And it feels like we have like one of the 4 pieces now. And now the trick is going to be how do we replace those 4?
If I could give you the option of you can, we don't know a name, but you can bring in an all-star either in the forward line, in the defensive line, or in goalkeeper. Who are you taking? Knowing the midfield we have,
defensive line.
Defensive, yeah.
I mean, I feel like we have not been burned by having an all-star defensive person coming in, whereas we have been burned by having an all-star offensive person come in and absolutely do nothing and end up sitting the bench. So
I was going to say, likewise, we had an all-star keeper come in that we just assumed would start and then was outplayed by Vidiello and lost a spot. So like,
who was that?
Was it Gomez?
I think that was Gomez. Was he an all-star keeper? I don't remember.
He had like big credentials. Yeah, but anyway.
Okay.
I mean, I'll have what was it, Zach Steffen back in a heartbeat.
Well, that doesn't count. That's a little bit more than all-star.
Yeah, I will say he wins the freaking like league for if he's in net, he's fucking wow.
Yeah. I will say that the fact that we let Tola walk and go to Louisville, like when we could have picked up his option, makes me think that Dequa might be a done-ish deal, but that's just speculating on my part. I don't think you go into the season with Kizza as like your number 1. I also said this about Dequa.
I could totally see Bob doing that.
So
yeah, I can too. And I don't know. Another part of me, maybe this is also wishful thinking, but you would think if someone was signing Dequa, they would have announced it by now. Like it would have been a pretty big get.
Unless he goes and tries to play overseas somewhere.
Which is fantastic for him. Like if that's the case, I'm happy to lose him because he's, furthering his career. But if I hear freaking Louisville announce Dequa, that's where, if I had hair, I'd be pulling it out because it's just frustrating to
rip
see
your
people.
beard hair out. I bet that would feel wonderful.
That's no. But yeah, so that's if he's going to go to another team in this league, I'm going to be so sad.
Don't you think it could also just be they're tied up in contract negotiations right now, where one team is saying, "Hey, come over here," and the Hounds are saying, "Hey, stay here," and that's why it's taking so long?
Hope so. I mean, I hope Dequa's getting what he's worth, and we are able to keep him. But if it turns out he goes to Louisville,
I think that's the part that hurts the most about Ordonez. Like Tola, I can kind of see it. Ordonez was Defender of the Year. So when you make your list of like what you hope for him, it's like return to Pittsburgh, go play overseas, like go play somewhere else, go to MLS, like go some other league somewhere else to further your career. Go to the West Coast so we don't have to see you like more often than not. And then the absolute last case scenario is like, no, it's not. The absolute last case scenario is go somewhere else in the East. And then like at the very bottom is go to Louisville. And so like he just bypassed all the other good scenarios and went straight to Louisville. And listen, we've had some private conversations about, not me and him, like we're not like that, but like within our little group. And we were discussing this, and there does come a point where as a player, these guys, they have their livelihoods they need to think about. And if financially they can make significantly more, and I'm theorizing here, but just in general, if financially they can make significantly more playing for another team, you can't really begrudge them from doing that. So this is a scenario where it sounds like Louisville has deeper pockets than we do, almost, magnitudes of 2 to 3 times that we do. And they can pay these players more to come play for them. So in that case, it sucks. Like, I hate it. I'm not going to like seeing him in purple, but
you're going to boo him, Mike?
I don't think I'm going to boo him. No, like
I'd boo him, but I'd do it with a smile on my face.
Like, if he went to like Detroit, where like the revenue, I'd be like, okay, come on, man. Like now you're just like you're being spiteful. Yeah.
I'm handing that grease pin to Colin and letting him write traitor. I don't know. Like I just anyone going, any substantial player going to Louisville, I don't look at it as me begrudging that player. I look at it as me begrudging the Hounds and being like, come on, you gotta fight to keep those players. But I'm sure I can already hear it. Well, he was asking for more than what he was worth, blah, 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 and I can get a better player for, half the money, yada,
that's
yada,
Lily,
yada.
Yeah.
And that's what Lily's going to say, or at least a couple of drinks in, he'll probably say that. But
2 seasons ago, he did. Ordonez came in straight out of Pitt, and like after 2 seasons was Defender of the Year. So like, don't love it, but this is the Lily way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Any other thoughts on players, guys?
Dos Santos, I kind of would be sad to see him go too. Like,
you would or would not?
I would be sad to see him.
Okay,
go. Yeah. Just great guy, and if we can keep him, that'd be great. I mean, honestly, I feel that way about most of this team. Like, there's not like a player I'm like, oh, thank God he's leaving.
I don't really know. Dos Santos is a tricky one for me because when he was when we were playing like with a back four and he was out on left back, I was like, okay, he's okay out there. And then we go to like 3 center backs with him as the left center back, and he was incredible. So I mean, it's some of these players really flourished in very particular roles in our system last year, and he was absolutely one of them. He turned his season around, and he was a really improved player over the course of the season. If you told me if Lily was like, well, we're going to play a different system this year, then he goes back into my like big question mark box of like, all right, well, I just don't know where he's going to play.
Well, and if he's healthy, because he was having injuries there for a while. So I don't know if maybe there's like, oh, sorry, like, not going to pick up the contract because of that. But
yeah. All right. Well, that's what we think about players, guys. One more question for you. We've only got a few minutes left, but Christmas is 1 week away. So if you could ask Santa for one thing about this team, it could be realistic, it could be unreal, it could be unicorns playing at halftime. I don't care. If you could ask Santa for one thing for next year, what do you think it'll be? And I'll give you a minute to think. I think that my thing would be additional owners to come in and help add some more funds to the team. Ooh. I know that Tuffy has had John Daly at a number of games, and dude's got some money from the PGA Tour.
Really?
Yes, maybe
I'm sure he spent it all on cigars.
He spends it on his pants and his cigars. Yeah, who
yeah.
knows? I don't know if Mark Madden's loaded, but like I just saw Mark Madden watching some games down at Tuffy's golf club. Like, may not be my favorites to like do it, but if it injects more money and we can keep players like Arturo around, then like cool.
What if the Qatari state came in, Mike? And was
yeah, that's not going to happen. But yeah, that's what I think I would wish for. Is I think that the turnaround that Tuffy has helped produce for this team has been amazing. But I think for us to take the next step, it might involve an injection of cash to help expand the stadium, help expand marketing, help retain players.
Down to capitalism, Mike.
That's
disappointed in you.
That's all this is, Kev. Let's be honest.
Welcome
Don't
to
sugarcoat it.
Pro soccer.
That's right. That is right. Kev, what are you asking Santa for?
So I have stayed away from any news on this, and maybe there is news and updates. Maybe you guys even know it, and but I know there have been rumors and suggestions around progress on like stadium development. But I think last year, was a big step forward in consistent large crowds showing up to watch home games. To me, that's enough to say, all right, let's increase capacity a little bit. And I just think that does so much. You're investing in the long-term financial health of the club. You're investing in the long-term kind of culture growth of the club by getting a more positive and, loud and enjoyable atmosphere at home games. So I don't know, things like that, I think are like the main drivers for kind of long-term sustainable growth for a club. And that's what I would love to see. I'm not too worried about player selection or whatever. Lily will do what he does and cool. In the end, it'll be fine, even if it's like not as good of a season as last season is. But things like that, I think would be great.
Just a few things on that. One, if you missed the episode from a few weeks ago when I was chatting with Rob Vincent, I asked him, I was like, if there was a hole in this team, like, where would you tell Lily to fill it? And he was like, you don't tell Lily anything. So, Kev, to your point, Lily's going to do what Lily's going to do. Also, I got word that might not be showing up on podcast systems. We're going to look into why that is. But it is available on YouTube Music, all of that. So you can check that out there as well. Kev, about stadium stuff. Rumor has it that stadium expansion, in the sense that we've talked about it, is likely not in the cards this offseason, but stadium experience improvements, including like improving certain sections and things like that, is something they're going to be working towards. So it's not 100% clear what that means. Maybe it means pisser under the seats. Like maybe, I don't know. But that's sort of where the headspace is right now.
Yeah, improving the stadium, not so much expanding it.
Yes.
As such.
Yes.
Which I'm fine with. I do think we need to expand, but there are some areas in that stadium that are pretty run down over the years that could use some improvements, and would go a long way to improve fan experience.
Maybe a quick last point before Josh, you go into that. I think it's great. Still want stadium expansion.
Oh yeah,
I don't think it's a like. Well, that's good enough kind of thing.
It's not an if; it's a when at this point. Yeah, it's going to happen. So yeah. Josh, what's Santa bring? Well, he might not bring you. What are you asking him for?
I can't believe no one already said the freaking cup. Like, obviously, but that's a dumb answer. I'm aware. It's an obvious answer, but I'm just saying it needs to happen. Yeah, mine was more around just I want to see us level up again. And that is kind of a big umbrella of things with a stadium expansion, with advertising dollars, just feeling like we're a pro team, even more so than we had this previous season, which I thought was a pretty big step up compared to previous seasons before that. So I just want to keep on seeing that growth happen. And I would love to see it happen not only for the Hounds, but like the Steel Army, for supporters groups in general. Like pie in the sky. I always thought it would be cool if there's like multiple supporters groups that were like big in Pittsburgh. Like options would be cool. But yeah, stuff like that. I just
is it like you have like the goths, you have the jocks, you have the this, you have the that, and so
I'm telling you, man, like at Columbus back when I was in the supporters groups there, like you had like the more college oriented one. It was like the Hudson Street Hooligans, and they were much more rowdy. And then you had more of like the older people were in the crew supporter union, and they're the ones that had like business sense and knew how to actually like sell season tickets and like that kind of stuff. El Tri, that was the Spanish supporters group, and like there's a lot of different like flavors of supporters groups, and they were all like pretty well established, and it was a lot of fun.
Hear me out. What if they put stands on the opposite side of the Steel Army, and that was filled with a separate supporter section, and you guys could just go back and forth?
Bring it, yeah. Like,
imagine that atmosphere.
No, it'd be great. And like, I'm just looking for that next level for this team. Yeah.
That makes me ask, and this will be the last question. Based on what you said there, Josh, anything short of winning the cup next year, will that feel like a failure of a season?
I mean, I don't want to say failure.
How far do we have to get through the playoffs next year for you to be like, we took a step forward?
I think we need to go farther than what we've gone before, which means we need to win more than 2 games.
So get to like the Eastern Championship, roughly.
Yeah, like that would be a great step forward. Obviously, I feel like winning it would be the actual step forward, but at this point, come on, like.
Kev?
I like to think of myself as process oriented, not result oriented. So you won't hear me say like, if we don't reach the Eastern Conference Final, then it's a mistake. I think what we need to be doing is constantly like quote unquote the right things day in, day out, and the result will take care of itself. So whether that means making sure we're taking care of the club financially, whether that means we're taking care of fan experience, whether that means giving Lily the resources he needs to build a championship winning side, I don't know. But I think you could always have scenarios like last year where you have a great team, finish top of the East, and then go out in the first round from, a 1-0 Detroit game. So I can't say we have to get further in the playoffs. But yeah, I don't know.
Was last year a success for you, Kev?
Absolutely. Yeah. Huge success.
Okay. Yeah. I think I agree. I'm still of the mindset that if we win the Players' Shield, I'll consider next year to be a success, regardless of what happens in the playoffs. I don't know why my mind has now been like tweaked that way, but
Stockholm syndrome. Yeah,
it kind of is. Yeah, no, but it's weird because, like, Josh, then to your point, it's kind of like, well, then is it like baby steps? Like, well, we didn't win the first one last year, so is winning the first one like a good step? And then next year you hope for 2, and then you keep going. Like at a certain point, you just got to go for it and see what happens.
It's the cup. You gotta win the cup. I did want to bring up one thing real fast before we end the podcast. I meant to bring it up during the U.S. Open Cup talk, but did you guys see the tweet the Hounds came out with about the Open Cup and how much traction that tweet got?
No,
I did not see how much traction the tweet got, but it was the one. Go ahead.
So the tweet is, "Hey MLS, is this because we ran your league's champion out of the competition this year? Didn't think y'all would take it that poorly." Yeah. And then it's like, a picture of the Open Cup game against the Crew, and it has 6.4 thousand likes.
Nice.
Over 1K retweets. Nice. And the comment section is just Columbus tears all the way down. And even as a Columbus fan, I love it. It's just how many people in this comment section can say we didn't even play our regular team.
Yeah, that's great.
It's like, okay, cool. I don't think that's the dish you think it is.
Yeah.
Yep. I put out. We'll end on another positive note. I did put out the tweet and thread. Is that what they're called?
Threads.
Where according to soccer math, if the Hounds beat Columbus and Columbus won the MLS, does that mean the Hounds are the best team in the country?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Soccer
math.
Soccer math. Yeah. Guys, I think that's it. Josh, you're going to Ohio for the holidays?
Yep.
Yeah.
Leaving Thursday night.
Nice. Kev, you'll be here.
I will be in Pittsburgh, yes. And I will see you.
Maybe.
He seems so happy about it.
I know. I will see you. Yeah. Well, hopefully you guys all have safe travels. Hopefully everybody has safe travels. We appreciate, all of you guys listening and watching and adding comments to the show. It's been quite the year. We will not be back until 2024. We're going to figure out what our schedule looks like and we'll go from there. But, with the first game of the season being really the beginning of March, we've got 2 months to figure out what this team looks like and play some preseason games, which will come fast and furious. So we're going to be talking about games that matter before you even know it. So thanks, everybody. We appreciate all that you do for the team and for the show and for everything. And hopefully everyone has a safe and happy holidays. And we will talk to you all very, very soon.
Cheers.